So I think that we're working on this three-part prong here. We're working on this three-part thing, and it's really cleared up lately what it's all about, and it's a lot easier to explain. You know, we used to talk about transformation, and what was the purpose of transformation? Why would I, as a family member of an addict, have to transform? Why is it true that I need to transform? And it was such a task to convince family members that they needed to transform. It was so hard. And then the other part, but the family members did want to hold the other person accountable. They liked that part, you know? So they didn't want to transform, but they did want to be able to hold their loved ones accountable and set a standard for them. And they also, this other part, they wanted to be able to connect too. So they wanted to connect and they wanted to hold people accountable in their family. But the transformation part, that's not really, I don't understand why that's important. And so they wanted answers about how to connect better, and they wanted answers about how to hold their family members accountable. But but they didn't really want to discuss the transformation part. So part of this thing is that what I'm going to tell you and what we talk about is that you can't do this without all three. Without your transformation, you're not going to be able to hold people to a different standard. And it might not even be you, we'll look at that, but it might not be you holding people to a different standard. It might be them holding themselves. And then also, you're not going to be able to connect. I think that people really don't understand what it means to connect with another person. And I don't think I understood it for a long time. Until recently, what I'm starting to see connection is, and if we could just define it, it's the better parts of me meeting the better parts of you. It's the best parts of me meeting the best parts of you. You know, and I think that we try to connect with people, and we try to connect with them without our best part forward. We try to connect with people through the worst parts of us meeting the worst parts of them. And it's no wonder why connection's so inauthentic. Because usually, you know, the connection is just, we're calling connection just hanging around each other. And we're calling connection just being by each other. We're not calling connection this meeting place where the best places in me come out to meet the best places in you. And what we end up doing with our family members or whoever it is, and what I used to end up doing was like really talking to the worst parts of people. Really speaking to the worst parts of human beings. And I thought that was the way to go. I thought if I address this thing, you know, if you start speaking to the worst parts of people, they start defending themselves. You can really tell when you're speaking to the worst parts of people because they will be defending themselves. They will be justifying themselves, and they will be rationalizing themselves. So when you see in these meeting places that we have, you know, it's not where understanding meets the understood. It's not where compassion meets peace. It's not where calmness meets calmness. See, these are the best parts of us, where calmness meets calmness, where acceptance meets acceptance, where understanding meets the understood, where kindness meets compassion. You know, but we're not meeting each other in these locations. We're meeting each other where anger meets disappointment, where frustration meets disappointment. And now all of a sudden, I thought that was how you help people. Well, you just tell them that they're no good. You just tell them that they don't behave properly. You just tell them how they should behave. You know, so I say to a lot of people, I say, what if I took negative reinforcement away from you? What if I took lecture away from you? And what if I took punishment away from you? How would you help another human being? See, really, how are you going to help a human being? How are you going to help them improve if you don't talk about the worst parts of them, if you don't lecture about how the parts of them should be better, and if you don't punish the worst parts of them? How do you help people? You see, you're stuck. So as you sit here today, you might be stuck as I am, because you might be wondering, well, what the hell do you do then? And that's the knowingness that we don't know what to do, because what we do when we think we're going to improve somebody, our automatic go-to move is to tell them about the worst parts of themselves. And then what they do is they begin to defend themselves. And this really, not only do they begin to defend themselves, they begin to attack us. You know, so I've really gotten into this idea of how the best part of me could speak to the best part of you. So the transformational part of this is to get to this place that we call equanimity, to get to this place called calmness inside of us, to show the other human being that we can give them the best part of us. And if we can't come from that place of equanimity that is the only place that improvement comes from, that is the only best part of us, how do we expect to meet them at their best? So this work of transformation is very important, because if you now know and you look back at your history with your family members, I bet it's true that you discuss the worst parts of them a lot. So this thing of transformation and accountability, and let's get clear on what accountability is. When you're helping another human being, accountability has nothing to do with your standards. It ain't the standards you set for them. It's helping them achieve the standards they set for themselves. You know what we are doing with other human beings is not setting some standard and saying this is what you need to achieve to impress me. It's allowing them to set a standard for themselves, and then there's a knowingness between both of you when they don't feel they met that standard. And now, what they're showing you when they know that they didn't meet that standard is they're showing the best part of them, not really needing to discuss the worst part of them, but kind of a mutual acknowledgement that they didn't met the standard that they set for themselves. I used to think accountability was some standard that I set for other people, and if I held them accountable, it meant that they met my standard. Everybody's different. Everybody's at a different place. The standard that Billy sets for himself right now cannot be the standard I set for myself. And I can't expect him to achieve the standard I set for him. So this accountability, this transformation, and this connection. What if we define connection as the calmest place in me, meaning the calmest place in you? Defining connection in a different way. Connection is not where the worst parts of me criticizes the worst part of you. See, the worst thing about me is the critic in me. That's the worst part of me, is the critic in me. The worst part of me is the judge in me. The worst part of me is the righteous in me. So connection is not the righteous in me meeting the criticizing you about the bad behavior you are. That's not connection. Critiquing, lecturing, the criticizer lectures. That's not connection. Connection is where we find it so rare. See what I'm saying it? When I'm saying it to you. When have you connected with a coworker or a family member recently where the best part of you met the best part of them? Tell me. Tell me the last time you went to Thanksgiving with the hope that the best part of you was calm enough to meet the best part of somebody else. That's connection. And I'll tell you that it didn't get there before transformation. And I'm telling you that it isn't really there for me yet. You know, this stuff's coming in, but it's not. It's like, yeah, that is that, but now wait, I still got to work on how to achieve that. Because inside me, there still is the critic that wants to criticize the worst parts of you. And that wants to illuminate the worst part of you. That wants to shine more light on it. You know, it seems to me that if we shine more light on that stuff, it will grow. And it seems to me if we shine more light on the best parts of people, that will grow. It seems to me we can go either way. And so you got to ask yourself, you know, because everybody's real keen on wanting people to see the best parts of them. But I don't think it is, because even people wanting to show people the best part of us is a cover-up. Because the best part of us is just now. It's just here. See, the best part of us is crying. The best part of us is tearing up. The best part of us is humbled. But we think the best part of us is, I know the answer. So how do we do it? How do we transform as human beings to allow ourselves the calmness to look at the best parts of people rather than the resistance to have to talk to the worst parts of people. But you want your relationships to improve? I'll tell you, there's only going to be one way now that I see it clearly. Speaking to the best parts of people. Having the calmness and peace inside to not criticize, not sarcastically comment, not belittle, not lecture. To feel peaceful enough to do that. I want to make it clear that this speaking to the best parts of human beings, this isn't fraudulent. So I want to be clear because it might sound like I'm saying, Johnny, you're great. Johnny, that was amazing the way you washed that plate last night. Johnny, no, it's not that. Speaking to the best parts of people might just be not speaking to the worst parts of people. You might have to be very careful. Because it might come off that you're trying to validate some spot on them for some purposes of your own. So I know that if you haven't come here and you know you hear it said, you come in this room, and then before you come in, you might hear that we say addiction is a huge opportunity, and it's a huge opportunity for families. And we're really, really big on this because, you know, it seems in our life, and we've kind of got it figured out, that we have this ability to state a story and then have the story kind of come up to be true. So kind of like we're creating our tracks that the train goes on. And I want to talk about the detriment really quickly of telling somebody that they've got a disease and they're always going to have it. At the point you tell somebody they got something called addiction and they're always going to have it, it seems to me they might get a story in their head that they got something and they're always going to have it. And I don't see much freedom in that. And I don't have anything that I'm always going to have, and I don't live that story. And I also don't live addiction as a tragedy, because if we say a story that addiction is a tragedy, then addiction is a tragedy. It is what we say it is. I am what that is. I am what this is. I am what relationship is. I am what I say this is. You see? So really, when you say addiction is opportunity, there's a real opening there. And what we think the opening is here is the opening for individual transformation within a family. And with individual transformation becomes a standard that we all set individually and live up to. And then there becomes actually a space that we can connect with the best parts of us in our family. And we can develop a new language to speak together. And we can stop where criticism meets criticism. We can stop where criticism meets defense. We can stop where I know meets I know better. We can stop those connection places and open up the connection places where I don't know meets I don't know. Why can't I don't know meet where I don't know? Why are we coming to a place where I say I know and you say you know better? And we argue over that. When the reality is we both don't know. So this place where we can meet opens up when we come and transform and work on entering a state of calmness. And when that's available in our family, we can actually meet each other at the best place. So that's the opportunity that it is. And I hope that each one of you are seeing that. And whether it is a tragedy or it is an opportunity, I think you define that. And so we have to define it in a way that it benefits us. Because what's the alternative? So, and it is a real honor for me in my life now through the transformational process to get to see to get to see people cry in front of me. To get to see people say, I don't know. To get to see all this stuff happen in front of me is amazing. And I hope that if you get into this process, you'll see it start showing up different for you too. You'll see that people will start showing you the best side of themselves, even if there's another side. And they will aspire to have that side illuminated. anyways, it's a real honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.